I think it's very fitting that 2 weeks ago when I decided that I would finally begin... I can't get that sentence out of my mouth. I think it's very fitting that 2 weeks ago when I decided that I would finally begin reading One Piece, I was wearing the exact same shirt and I did my final update on volume 6. Not my final update on volume 6, but my update on volume 6 here. But then I had a pause with this vlog and now we're beginning again. I have read volume 7 and volumes 8 and I'm gonna update about them both at the beginning at the same time because I literally forgot to film an update on volume 7. But I do think that's actually quite good, as much as this may have. I didn't enjoy volume 8 the most. I think it's my least favorite volume so far. I didn't dislike it by any means, but it did have its problems. So if I would be here just talking about volume 8, I don't know, I would feel a bit down, you know? But volume 7, it might have been one of my favorite volumes so far. I love the way that Oda stops in the middle of action to give us backstory, to give us character work, to give us those like small moments and small exchanges between the characters. The backstory behind Zeph and Sanji, I loved it. Last time I was here, I was like, Sanji is his son. That wasn't the case. Sanji isn't technically Zeph's son, but I think how they actually did it here, how Oda did it, is even better. And I absolutely loved that whole thing. Actually, even continuing here, I loved everything to do with Sanji and Zeph. And even though I did say Sanji is his son with the thinking behind it that it's his biological son, I think it works the same, like me saying he's his son. He is his son, and that's what made volume 7 brilliant and brought brilliance to volume 8. But let me talk about the thing that kind of brought down both of the volumes. Not so much volume 7, because there was so much good in volume 7. I'm gonna get back to that. But there was so much good in volume 7 that those parts that don't really work with me that well, I didn't find issue in them like I did in volume 8 because they took so much more time. In the last vlog, I talked a lot about how the action, if it's very heavy on action, the volume that we're in, how it might lose me a bit because I'm not a very action-driven reader, which is odd because I absolutely love action, especially comedic action cinema, which is why you would think I would love it in mangas, but also it's not the same because when you look at it visually, I mean, it's the same why I love martial arts. I can love martial arts and be like, it's often boring, it's often a bit boring in books, you know? But also, I feel like volume 8 at the first half of it, not so much the second half, but at the first half of it, it kept on hitting on those same notes that it already hit on here, and it kind of felt dragged out in a way that One Piece hasn't really done yet, even though I have commented in the past that it felt a bit dragged out. This felt like dragged out in a way where it was literally repetitive instead of being stuck in the scene. And I understand why Oda is doing it, and I also know that I could be criticizing it kind of for the reverse of it if Love had just won very easily. So I don't know, it's probably just a me problem. I'm not so much criticizing Oda as much as I'm noting that that's the reason why it didn't work so much for me. But then the middle couple of chapters with Sanji and the restaurant ship pirates, Sanji leaving, all of that, absolutely stellar, brilliant. I know I'm talking about this very incoherently, but they are kind of, 8 is a continuation of 7. I mean, the first half of it, very much so. Oh, now I remember. But volume 7, it wasn't just Sanji and that part which made me love this volume. It was also the entire end of it, where the fight, though it's the same fight that continues in volume 8, here it felt so much more. Like, it felt like it had more stakes and it held my intrigue much better. I really like the way Jin was incorporated in here, and a bit in here, though I don't think he was that incorporated in here. Even though I really love volume 7, I don't really have much to say about it, but one thing I really want to discuss before I get to the second half of volume 8 is the way that when I started reading volume 7, probably when I finished volume 7 as well, I felt like, oh, Sanji is he's really climbing as a character for me. He's really becoming like better and just more interesting and more my type of a character with his each appearance. And I felt the same when I started volume 8, but it didn't take long for me to go, never mind. Sanji is officially at the minute my favorite character. He surpassed Zoro. Like I can see Zoro overtaking Sanji once again, but I love Sanji. I love Sanji. I fall for this character type every time, and I'm here for it. I'm a bit annoyed that I took a bit of a break between these 2 volumes because I read volume 7 and then I forgot to film an update, and then I put One Piece down for like 4 days until I picked that up, so I can't really remember my specific thoughts about volume 7. I think why I really love volume 7 is just that it's a really good execution of a story type or like a story plot line, which I really love. I love themes driven narratives, and I know maybe I'm wrong, but like so early on it feels weird to call something within One Piece a themes driven narrative, but maybe because I keep on saying this more and more, I will realize soon that yeah, it's often themes heavy, but it's just hidden behind the comedy. But for me, themes of loyalty, they are that. Like, you know, they are just, loyalty is one of my core values, and I love narratives that are driven by loyalty, characters driven by loyalty. Here, the way it was executed in this way where it felt very One Piece, but it was also like not this Superman, Captain America. I love Captain America, but you know, Superman, Captain America, very like traditional. Yeah, I'm a loyal dude, and you know, you can see it, and it's very straightforward. No, it's sarcastically loyal, if that makes sense. It's loyal in a way I would be, and I could see my friends being, which is probably why it really called to me. But also just a way that is not just loyal because someone is your friend, but because someone has been kind to you and because you see something in someone. I wasn't really expecting that from One Piece, which I probably should have, considering how beloved this series is. But I'm really starting to get that, and I hope I get more of it and more of it with each volume. But talking about the rest of volume 8, I didn't dislike the first half, by the way. I didn't dislike it. It wasn't my cup of tea necessarily. It just got a bit dragged out, but I didn't dislike it, and there were parts that I find humorous. To be honest, it just a bit boring, but like me problem, not the book problem. But then I kind of wasn't expecting to get Nami back so quick. I might have thought that it would have taken longer. I might have thought that maybe we wouldn't get her back until the next saga, but I'm not necessarily that surprised either. Maybe it was partly like I couldn't choose on which side I was on in the debate against myself. Whether we're gonna get Nami back soon or whether we're not gonna get Nami back soon. Either would have been fine, like story-wise, let's say that. But I think last time I said I really want to get Nami back soon, so I can't say I'm disappointed. But about the story afterwards, obviously it's weird to talk about the second half of volume 8 because it feels incomplete. This feels like a very weird volume, and I noticed that One Piece does this a lot, is that when they reach the conclusion of like a story, I suppose an arc within the saga, they don't end it at the end of a volume, they end it kind of at the middle of a volume, and then they start the next one. And I suppose that's to keep the interest, and I get that, but it makes it difficult to talk about it. Basically, why I'm talking about nothing at this minute is because I'm not feeling it. Like I said, volume 8 wasn't it for me. Like, I've got faith in Oda to turn this next storyline, next arc, to what I will love, to something that I can find really a lot of enjoyment in. I'm not saying I'm disliking it. I keep on repeating myself. I feel like I'm trying to convince myself that I'm not disliking it. It's just this mad people, and I don't know, I wasn't very gripped by the introduction to this story, but I've got faith in Oda. I know he can do this. I don't want to just go in circles, because if next time I'm gonna be here and be like, I loved it. I would feel very dumb, and I'm also hungry, so I think I won't say much. I know we're gonna get Nami back. It's not like, oh, Nami is bad now, and I mean, Nami was bad all along. Nobody's believing that, but I don't want it to be dragged out because it's so self-evident that obviously we're just gonna get Nami back. So I don't want this to be just an excuse to fight these mare people who I'm not awfully interested in. But it's not that I'm not wanting to pick up the next volume. I'm really enjoying this. Even when I say like complain about volume 8 and being like, oh, this wasn't quite for me. It was never like I disliked this or like I had a bad time reading it. It was just less so I was literally eating it up and being like, oh, I can't stop reading, and more like, this is a fun way to pass time, you know? And I don't want One Piece to just be a chill, fun way to pass time. I want it to be something that I obsess over. That was my first update of this vlog-ish. It's kind of my wrap-up for the first saga. I feel like the moment we come inside the house, the lighting turns god awful, but not only did I finish volume 9, I also finished volume 10, and I read a third of volume 11. The reason why I read a third of volume 11 before I did this update is because I finished volume 10 and I was like, I probably should do the update now, or that was like where I was planning on doing the update, but it stopped in the middle of the fight between Arlong and Luffy. So I didn't want to stop there, so I read until the end of the fight so I can give a more comprehensive analysis view, like opinion about the whole situation. I've edited the footage of my last update, and you know, in it I said maybe I'll come here the next time saying I loved it, and then I'm feeling really stupid. I'm just gonna assume you knew that was gonna happen, because when this was titled Tears, I didn't envision it being a literal description of what it feels like to read this book. I know last time I gushed about volume 7 being my favorite one. Volume 9? Volume 9? I feel really stupid, but I love it. I kind of love feeling really stupid. It's just like, last time I was complaining about all these things and I'm like, you know, if you read One Piece, I'm just gonna assume you already know that volume 9 is top tier. I was home alone and I started reading it and I was like, wait. And oopsie daisy, it was like an hour later and I was finishing it absolutely heartbroken. I don't know if I cried. I don't think I cried. I don't usually cry with fiction, like written down fiction. So when I do, I kind of remember it very vividly. So I doubt I did, but it touched me. Like every other One Piece volume is like the enjoyment has been quite high for most of them, but the effect has been kind of like, the effect that it leaves is not just like, it's not like I'm going, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. This had me going exactly like that. Nami's background was better and more wonderfully executed, and something I was not expecting. I am an absolute sucker for found family, parental, like good parental relationship tropes and plot lines and character archetypes, like character relationships. Most of the fiction that I end up really loving has some form of a familiar or like found family relationship. I mentioned The Girl from the Other Side last time, and the reason why I love that so much is because it's about this found family relationship between this monster, or like monster who is set to be god-awful and feared, and yet he's one of the softest and most beautiful people. Fathers to this little girl, little human child, two things that should never interact. And that is like the main thing what I love about that. That is much else. But we're talking about One Piece right now. When we got Nami's sister, that had me a bit interested. I know I wasn't talking about that because I didn't really have anything to say, but that was kind of the one thing I did enjoy. Like I don't know what enjoyed, but that had me interested, had me intrigued in the last volume, at the end of volume A. But then we went into those flashbacks, and I think the moment we time traveled, I went, oh no, oh no, this is not gonna end well for me, because I already know how I feel about these things. I know that I'm a sucker for kind of tragic history when it's executed well. When it's executed poorly, it's just like, wow, wow, he's got a tragic history. But the more we got like those little scenes, I mean, the more panels we got, basically with every panel, I went, oh God, oh God. And I kept on reading and reading and reading and reading and reading and reading. Because usually what I do with One Piece volumes is that it is short, but what I do is I read a couple of chapters, something else, I read a couple of chapters, I do something else. I'm really rubbish at reading through a volume. I haven't got the attention span for that. But when I really fall into something, this happened a lot with The Sandman, whereas if I really fall into it, I can just keep on going without stopping. If it wasn't so that I didn't have the volume 10 because I forgot to get it from the library, I would have probably, not necessarily automatically, because it was like 12 when I finished this, but basically automatically, maybe even then, just kind of straight away picked up volume 10, because this impacted me so thoroughly. Like, yeah, there are like kind of common elements there. There are a lot of common elements there. I'm not saying that it's a completely novel and never executed storyline, but a lot of the things still felt not necessarily fresh, they felt fitting. They felt like precisely, of course. And even the stuff that had me, I don't know, not surprised, because I was like, okay, their mother figure isn't here anymore. She's not around. So it can't be that she survives. So she has to die. But still, when she ended up dying, that hit me so hard. And I was like, I was expecting that to happen, but Christ, it still felt like a shock. An unexpected shock. I don't think I'm making any sense at this point. Not only did that whole kind of familial relationship dynamic hit me, but there was so many scenes with little Nami where she said things and did things which, if we had been there, yeah, they would have hit like, oh, this is annoying, but like in the best way, where it's like, that is a well-written, well-executed young character, and the choice she ended up making, like I said, I was kind of like, oh, we already know Nami's gonna become like a good guy, like this is gonna feel like a bit pointless. I'm like, I want to punch myself in the face, because it's anything but pointless. It's brilliantly executed, and I can see it have such an impact on how we view Nami's character, but also such an impact on where Nami's character is gonna go. And I'm really excited to see where we're gonna go with this character info, with this character background. What was I saying? Character backstory. The development isn't over, though Nami's character has come kind of so far in so few volumes, but just like within this kind of, I forgot the name of the village, but the Arlong arc, she has so much further to go, and that's something that I'm really excited about. Yeah, I thought I would say this at the very beginning, but maybe it's better to say it here. There's like no doubt in my mind, Nami is currently my favorite character. She's like leagues up there. I know everyone loves Luffy, and I still love Luffy. I think Luffy is brilliant, but I'm still saying that Luffy is the type of character that I love and absolutely will love and adore. I don't think Luffy is gonna be kind of my favorite character. Maybe it's too early to say that. I just do still love Luffy. Just the Luffy love is a bit intense, you know? It's like, I'm scared to say that he's not my favorite character, but that's completely humane. But I'm completely just entirely talking about basically Nami and volume 9. I did also read volume 10. I read it in English because I had to read it online because I forgot to pick it up from the library. I don't have much to say about that, though I did finish it literally today. Like I said, I finished Tears on the 31st, but I actually did have a bit of a break. It's currently, it's a week in the tune. But what happened yesterday, 2 days ago, literally just now, is apparently a lot more people started watching my One Piece video than I was expecting. Then I was like, okay, I really need to pick up One Piece volume 10, because like, Christ. I'm not gonna lie, it didn't hit me like volume 9 did. It had those same problems that I've been hitting on, and I'm not gonna talk a lot about me being bored by the fighting of it. Just like, oh, it's, you know, wasn't my favorite volume, and then go on and on about how the fighting isn't for me, because like, I already said that. I think you get it. Unless I comment about the fighting in specific volume being terrific and like I'm really interested in it, just kind of assume that if I go like, yeah, it wasn't really for me, that it had a lot of fighting, take it that I'm just like, it doesn't really work that well with me. Though I do think it was better than volume A. I think one thing that had me more invested and more interested was just the fact that I took a week break from One Piece, because I already started going, I really want to get back into One Piece. And this is, I think, the main issue, not issue, but the main thing I want to hit on is that even if I'm not completely obsessed, even if I go through volumes like, yeah, it was alright, it wasn't the best thing, I'm not gonna stop One Piece here. I saw comments where were like, if you don't like love it by the end of the first saga, you shouldn't continue. Even if you think I'm not like absolutely obsessing over, well, I just obsessed over volume 9, but you get me. I'm not like, oh, I love every minute of it. And even if I go, yeah, not all of these volumes are for me, I'm not gonna stop. That's the thing. It's like, I don't want to. Even if I pick up the next volume and I'm like, yeah, that was kind of mid, I still want to keep on going, because it is not about the action and necessarily the plot within these pages anymore that gets me like excited about this. It is the world and the characters. Like, good thing to compare it to is my love for Doctor Who. Doctor Who is my favourite show. It has been my favourite show for like 15 years that I've watched it. The thing about Doctor Who is, if you would actually look at my average ratings per series, it would be like about A. There are a lot of shows which would average much higher, but I would always rank them below Doctor Who, because it doesn't matter if Doctor Who is shite or it's absolutely stellar. It is my favourite show, and I love it for, even if I don't like the characters, Jesus Christ, I love it for being Doctor Who. I can really imagine One Piece going there, and that's kind of on an idea level where it's already at. Obviously it doesn't have that 15 years of love that I've got for Doctor Who, but it has got that. I want to return, and I always want to return here, and I'm absolutely ecstatic about the fact that there are, how many volumes are there? Like, too many volumes. It's the same with me watching Classic Who at the moment. I'm watching Classic Who in publishing order, and if you don't know, there are what, 27 seasons. Jesus Christ, the new Who is called series and the old Who is called seasons. 27 seasons with a lot of episodes, so that's a lot of ground to cover. So I'm familiar with watching something with a lot of content, not all of which I'm gonna love. My point is, I'm not quitting. I have been hooked, and I'm the kind of person who becomes obsessed with things. Like, even if I'm not obsessing over the story, it would bother me immensely to not know what's gonna happen next. What I did with volume 11, so this is how much I read, I actually read it kind of twice. I've read it in Finnish and English, but not like reading it in Finnish and then in English. I literally have like the physical manga and my phone, which had, oh, for Christ's sake, I haven't got battery. I had my phone on which I read English translation, so I like read like a page and then a page of that and then a page of this and then a page of that, so I could really properly compare it. And I know I saw some people go that maybe you should like read the English translation so you don't miss some things, but I did actually do Googling, and I wasn't the first one to compare the English and Finnish translations. There was someone who actually read Finnish, English, and then Japanese, and he commented about how the Finnish translation is more, what did he say? No, he didn't say accurate, but he said that it felt more like faithful. So I'm gonna continue with the Finnish translation, not just because of that, but it just feels much better to read. That's why I had the bloody examples from my phone. But there were a lot of examples where it's just like what these characters said, even though they could be more accurate in the English translation, they felt just much stronger and much more impactful in the Finnish translation. And just like, besides those like specific lines where I just went, oh, I love that line, the Finnish translation, and the English translation was just kind of like, that feels much more straightforward way to put it. And that was the thing. The English translation, it feels much more simplified. Often in here, characters say something like a bit sarcastically, or like they say the same thing, but it's not said kind of directly. It's kind of more implied, whereas in the in the English translation they literally just say it, and I don't really vibe with that. So even if I miss a couple of jokes, that's fine. And then I think the next time I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna give you those examples, because there were a couple of ones that really got me in volume 11 that were just like that Finnish translation here, that English translation didn't. Why I'm going on about this, and I don't think I'm gonna be going on about the translation anymore after this. I just wanted to end this whole conversation about the translations here because I have concluded that I will indeed just be going on with the Finnish translations. There was just one other thing that I wanted to talk about, which was the fact that there was a lot more people interested in that One Piece video than I thought. Thank you for everyone who was correcting me of the bad pronunciations. One thing that I got that I'm gonna stick with, I got that twice, which was stick with the Finnish pronunciations of the names, like how I would assume it's pronounced in Finnish. And I'm gonna be doing that until people eventually will end up correcting me anyways. But secondly was that I saw people being like, okay, maybe you could do like reviews instead of the vlogs. I kind of feel like I really want to do vlogs as well, because if I don't end up doing vlogs, by the time I'm doing a review, I won't remember what I thought about the individual volumes and kind of my thoughts along the way. I'll just end up remembering my final thoughts, because I read a lot and I watch a lot of films, so I really like the vlogs. My thinking is maybe I could do like bi-weekly vlogs, and then at the end of at least like the sagas, like the first saga, I think I'm gonna do like a review of the first saga next Saturday, or like by next Saturday, which will have like my kind of more coherent thoughts on it. So I'm not just rambling from the top of my mind. I don't know if I want to do a spoiler one or spoiler free one. So how should I do with the vlogs? How should I do with the reviews? And like, do you want a spoiler free or just a spoiler filled review of the first saga? With the following sagas, I would definitely do spoiler filled, but I don't know yet. Should I do a spoiler free or spoiler filled review? I now know that he's called Luffy instead of Luffy. But I actually found that kind of funny, that me, who's usually like, how is this person's and how is this writer's or character's name pronounced, just completely mispronounced that throughout the entire video. This 26 minutes, this is gonna be a bitch to edit, but I could ramble on for an hour, but those are my thoughts I'm gonna now give about. As it's after 9 PM, the only place where it's reasonable to film and have the lighting be, well, not even reasonably good, but good enough for me to be able to be seen and not completely washed out, I've got to film outside. I finished the EAST Blue Saga, as well as beginning the next saga. I think it's the Albert, I forgot the name of the next saga. I said I'm gonna start with going through the examples I had the last time, so I'm actually gonna do that. The way that the sound effects are put, like here where it's basically the same as gra and ra, it's just like the way it's formed on the page. It's just, I prefer the finished one, and these might sound like such minute things that shouldn't matter. I'm a very visual person, so to me they matter more than they might to a lot of other people. But what I was actually referring to, like kind of the more important stuff, such as this, like where the outsiders, the other people, scream at something, where in English it's just like, it worked, which is, it's not a bad sentence, but like compared to the Finnish, which is, that felt like, that hurt, it has more character, I don't know. But the one that I was really referring to, the one that got me like, yeah, I'm not changing in the English translation, is when Luffy is inside Nami's room and tears it apart. I didn't get into the fact that I absolutely loved that scene. Like, I absolutely loved that scene. But in that scene, when in the English translation it says, the problem is this room. She hated being stuck here. I'm gonna smash it to the smithereens. Which is not bad. Like, the point is still there. I would have still loved it. But in Finnish, he says, a room like this shouldn't even exist. Nami doesn't need a place where she doesn't want to be. And that has so much more heart in it. When I read that, that hit me. That was just like, oh my god, that was one of my favorite lines probably in One Piece today. And then when I read the English translation, I was like, it had the same point, but I don't think it would have hit me quite as hard. So that was the one that made me go, yeah, I'm sticking with the Finnish translation. But moving past the translation stuff, after the beginning, volume 11, so I really liked it. I loved the whole situation with Nami, and I keep forgetting about the police officer from the island. What is his name? Jen. I fell in love with Jen throughout these volumes, and this is what I love about Oda. It's the fact that he makes you fall in love with these minute, small sideline characters, because he gives so much character to all of them. I get how someone might criticize Oda for relying on, like, I don't know, I don't want to say stereotypes, but like character cliches, and kind of like each character having specific tropes or like specific quirks attached to them. That is never the entire character, and actually that is much more evident with a main cast, which is so like developed, and such a cast which has so much depth that I don't think that can be like a very well thought out critique to give to this book. It's very surface level critique, but when you actually look at the text, no one is without depth, no one is one-dimensional. That was what I was gonna say. I already said how much I love any kind of like parental relationship, but that with Jen wasn't really a parental relationship, it was more just care, but I can't really explain it. It's a trope that I love in fiction, where it's like someone who's not kind of like within the family, but someone like who's within the lives of a character and always kind of complaining, always like just seems like a person who doesn't like and just judges, but truly they care deeply. Truly they would do anything for that person that they're always just complaining about. They just want to throw them in the sidelines. They never say anything good about them. That is one of my favorite tropes. That is a trope I always fall for. And I love the fact that it wasn't like, oh, I need this character to like stay with us, or I need this character to return. But it wasn't that kind of a love. It was the kind of love where I understand that this person is going to be here only for a little while, and I wouldn't necessarily want them to be any longer, but whilst they're here, they have my heart. I also really liked everything with Nami's sister, Nojiko. I'm pretty sure it's like everything else is pronounced like in Finnish except Chase and Cheese. I think it's Jen and Nojiko instead of Gen and Nojiko. But there was a part that I forgot. I would have forgotten about it for some reason. Like it was a big part, so I don't know why I would have forgotten about it. But I'm glad that I put a post-it note in here, because we saw a single panel of Shanks, and you don't understand. The last time I was talking about how I don't cry when I'm reading, because I don't usually have like visible reactions. Like if I'm shocked, like if it's very shocking, I might like react aloud, but usually I'm very kind of a reader. When I tell you, when I saw Shanks, I literally screamed aloud. It was like a yelp more than a scream. But I was in home alone, and my mom was just like, what happened? Like, is something wrong? Like, what happened? What's going on? And I was just like, oh, I'm sorry, character return. And she just like sighed and walked away. I need him back. Like one panel, it had me like turning tables, but we need more. And also those scars. Oh my god. I'm just looking at this panel. I'm not gonna stay with the panel, because like we don't want that discussion to like stretch out. But where we went after we left the island, in this place where it was just like, the ending just felt perfect. I don't know how else to put it, because I was kind of, if I didn't know that chapter 100 was the end of the first saga, I would have assumed that, okay, we have all these characters that are from the previous 10 volumes that are like coming together, and we've got all these different villains and like different conflicts. I would have assumed it would have gone on for like ages, pages on pages, and I would have loved it at first and then got on board and then loved it again. But no. I was like, wait, the saga is ending and we have only got like a couple of chapters. What can we do with this time? We've got all these different elements coming together, and then our crew just leaves. Like our crew just like yeets off, and I loved it. I understand why people love Luffy. The way Luffy smiled when he was gonna be beheaded, and people were like, only one person has done that, and it was the Pirate King. I fell in love with Luffy even more. Like, I keep on saying that he's not my favorite character, but I love him. Like, I love him. It's kind of more like a background. I always love him more than the kind of intense love that I get for these characters whenever they kind of become the vocal point of the story. And like, I noticed it with where we went with beginning the next saga in volume 12, whereas the last time I was talking about how Nami is my favorite character now, like I'm obsessing over her because we were really focused in on Nami, and before that I was like, Sanji is my favorite character because we were really focused on Sanji's backstory. Now in like volume 11 and volume 12 where we were really focused on Zoro, I went again, oh wait, Zoro is my favorite character, like what is going on? It's like Luffy is always like here, where the other ones are kind of like but I love all of them. I love our entire group. Not so much Yusa, but it's not like I dislike him. He doesn't have that kind of, you know, character where you feel this intense love for him, at least. Yeah, the end of the first saga, like I said, to me it worked perfectly, especially with the fact that it's the end of our first saga and we have got so much more to go, so much further to go. So it felt perfect that there wasn't really an actual conflict. It looked like there was going to be this major big bang, but instead, no, That's what happened. I don't know what else to say about volume 1 at the minute, because I keep on saying volume 1, saga 1. Wow, the beginning of the second saga. This is the direction I want this story to go to. This is why I was talking about when I talked about absurdism. It's like we've got this whale who's got like an island and a sea inside him, I think. If that's what I understood correctly. Getting the grand line, it's like, it's completely absurd. You take that route and then there's a mountain and you don't understand. No one understands. And that's a brilliant thing about it. This is what I love about absurdism. It doesn't make sense, but you love it. And it wasn't littered with action. And then when it got that action at the end. This is what I was saying. This is literally what I was saying. Like, when I just read volume 1, I was like, I think Zoro can become the kind of a character who I'm really gonna fall in love with. That falling in love with is happening. I don't care about anything I've said about not liking action scenes so far, because I want all the action scenes with Zoro. Like, if they are with Zoro and they're like sword fights, I'm like, yes, thank you, please. And I also love the fact that it looks like, I'm hoping, fingers crossed, we're not just gonna get like kind of the same type of action happening again and again and again, but it's more like different types of conflicts. The conflict with the whale, that had me going like, I understand why people love Luffy. I understand why he's everyone's favorite, because the way he confronted that, like the whale situation where he was like lonely, and the Luffy kind of, the way Luffy handles that situation. You know, we're gonna fight you. Like, I'm not gonna fight you now, I'm so gonna fight you, but I'm gonna come back and fight you, and you're gonna have to wait until I come back and fight you. You understand? And I'm gonna paint my flag on your face, and that must stick there because that's the agreement. I'm gonna come and fight you. That's the agreement. You can't keep on hitting the rocks with your face, because otherwise you're not gonna know. The agreement is not gonna stand. I love Luffy. I love Luffy. Oh my god, that scene had me rolling. Okay, maybe he's my favorite character. I don't know. I love all of them. I mean, I am already like ecstatic about this, but I can definitely see, like, by the end of the next saga, I'm like, it's one of my favorite things ever. I can see that. I can't yet say it's one of my favorite things ever, but I don't think, like, I was certainly not expecting that by the end of the first saga, and I hope you weren't either. I could keep on going in circles because we're just at the beginning of the second saga. I don't want to keep on going in circles. So I suppose this is the end of the vlog, and like I said the last time, I think I'm gonna keep on going with the vlogs. Maybe not like after every volume, but like kind of like this, like a couple of times a week, or like 2-3 times every vlog. I'm gonna be reading at a pace of about 3 volumes a week, maybe more. That's how I'm feeling at the minute, just because I just started my writing process for my next book, and I have a lot of books that I'm gonna have to read or reread for that, like inspiration and also like kind of research stuff. But I'm definitely gonna be reading them or trying to read them each week, every time I can pick them up. And also one thing that might like limit it to like 3 volumes a week is the fact that I do want to pick up again like other comics whilst I'm reading this. I'm not gonna pick up any new manga. Like, I don't think I'll be picking up any manga unless it's like a standalone, like Junji Ito or something like that, until I've finished One Piece, which is it's gonna take forever, but you get me. But I am definitely gonna be reading like Western comics whilst I'm reading One Piece, because I don't want this to overtake my entire comics reading, because otherwise I'm not gonna say I might get sick of One Piece, but it's like, even with like Doctor Who, I love it, but I can't just be watching Doctor Who. I need to watch other TV shows as well. But I think I asked the main things last time, like, what do you want? I think I might at some point do some other kind of videos relating to One Piece, but I don't think I'll be doing more than like one Piece video a week, because I didn't want to be a One Piece channel. People were just kind of interested, and it was after one vlog. So maybe after this vlog people were like, no, I'm actually not that interested. Who knows, but I love talking about One Piece, and like I said, I'm gonna do like a proper review, but I'm still not sure whether I want to do a spoiler-filled or a spoiler-free review, and that's one thing I would love to hear from you guys on. I think that's the conclusion. I don't know what else to say, because like, I've been here again for 25 minutes and I already said that I wasn't gonna do that, and I've done it. So oopsie daisy.